Alrighty. You're good to go.
Okay, heary, the Protection and Policy meeting for May 13th, 2019 is now in session. It's 5:30. The roll call is Alder Stevens is excused. He's in Alaska. In his place, we have Alder Galvin.
Here.
Alder Vanderleest.
Here.
Alder Stoyer,
Here.
who will be excused a little later because he has to get to another meeting. Hopefully he'll be back. And then Alder Galvin will need to go. So, and Alder Scannell, the chair, is present. Before we approve the agenda, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda. I would like to move item nine to number 1, and everything else falls down below it. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Motion by my Alder Randy, seconded by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. I'll take a motion to accept our amended agenda.
So moved.
So moved by Alder Stoyer, seconded by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Opposed? And that passes unanimously. So we will start with, we're ready?
One moment.
Yep. I gotta remember. I gotta
Yes.
take a breath.
And I am
Take a breath.
also.
Yep. We'll get you back in
Oh,
it though.
did we approve the minutes?
Yep. Oh, no, how'd I miss that?
Not yet. Okay. So that would be
We'll
next.
approve of the agenda.
Oh, okay, right now, somehow I went right over it. Okay, I'll take a motion to
Agenda.
approve our minutes for April 29th, 2019.
So moved.
So moved by Alder Vanderleest, seconded by Alder Stoyer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. I don't know how I scrolled past that, but I did.
Alder Galvin, have you joined the meeting?
Yeah, I could have sworn.
Let me see.
I'm looking at the agenda right now.
Let me
I
see.
just noticed that.
Yeah, hold on, I'm just going to.
Because the votes aren't capturing
Right.
Alder Galvin's
Okay.
You
votes.
just give me 1 second to
Sure.
get Alder.
I'll give you 10 seconds.
Thank you.
I'm a generous guy.
I'm trying to think of the comeback. Can't come up with anything. We'll say yes. Is there a way that I can text or?
I'll text you when
Could you do that?
Alder Galvin's gotta go.
I'll make sure I'm on there. You have my cell number, right?
Yeah, we'll put in by him, but
Have
if I
to call
can
me
figure it out,
today?
then I will.
Yeah.
Actually, so.
Can you just jot down what if he votes?
Yes.
Just to make
Oh,
sure.
Absolutely.
We're gonna just input Alder Galvin's votes by hand later on. If she can figure it out, we'll update it. So that when we're preparing the minutes, we can just, in the event you vote no and the rest of the committee votes yea, just jot that down. Okay. All right, so we can move on to new business, first item.
Okay,
which
new
would
business
be-
first item is actually number 9. We bumped it up to 1.
Correct.
So, discussion with possible action on a request by Alder Burnett, which reads, for the city to develop a resolution or policy and procedure to notify property owners near parcels of land with a pending or approved application to be transferred from fee to trust status. My overarching concern is for the city and the Oneida Nation in goodwill to notify affected property owners of the new governing jurisdictions, code enforcement and zoning authority of the parcel recently transferred or applied to be transferred, and to provide an official forum for the public input and comment, previously held at the April 8th Protection and Policy meeting. And Alder Brunette and Alder Johnson are with us now. So Alder Brunette?
Yes. Thank you, Chairman. It's really a timing issue, if you recall. I believe it was an closed session discussion in March, I believe, where the council in closed session decided on some properties that were applied to be placed in trust. The council made the decision in closed session, and then after that meeting, I had placed this agenda item through a late communication. And the first protection and policy meeting, I had been on vacation, so I could not make it. The second meeting that it appeared on the agenda, I asked the chair to hold off on the agenda item because at that time, we had not had any additional properties that were received by the legal department that were being placed in trust or were looking to be placed in trust. So since then, during the finance committee meeting, which I could not be part of, I received a late notification of that meeting agenda. The agenda had been revised the day before, so I could not get out of work to attend that meeting. So the motion that appeared, and again, from what I understand, watching the minutes of the meeting, it was discussed in closed session, so I don't want to reveal too much on what was discussed. But the agenda item was consideration with possible action on initiating negotiations for intergovernmental agreement with the Oneida Nation, including revisiting the following notices of decision from the U.S. Department of the Interior regarding the intent to take land into trust, and then 12 properties were listed. So I guess for me, it's a timing issue. Moving forward, as I've been in Alder, the 12th district, I understand just how important, and I don't know the right word is, but how just very important putting land into trust is to the tribe, and I've gotten to really respect that. But until the public, who I've been elected to represent and serve, are notified of such applications, I really struggle with not divulging the information to the constituents who I serve. So much of the discussions, in fact, all of the discussions we've had on these issues, whether it be finance committee, city council, have been done behind closed session. And I'm getting increasingly uneasy about that because I'm conflicted. How much do I share with the residents in my district on issues that just deeply concern them and involve their just neighborhood cohesiveness, but yet I don't want to create a stigma on trust property. So it's a very difficult position that I'm in. And so with that, I'll put it back to the committee, and as you discuss this, any questions I'd be happy to answer. But depending on how the conversation goes, I would reserve, if I could, share the right to read a statement at the time if I see fit.
Certainly. What I was thinking is, would you like to see where, going forward with the city, talking with the Oneidas, where instead of these properties being noticed to the city, that we could do it somehow publicly, that would then allow your constituents to be notified? They would, if it's publicly listed on the agendas, I don't know if there is legal ramifications to that, or if the Oneidas need to agree, if we could make that part of our negotiations to get them to agree that when they want to put land in trust, we would make that a public notice with a city notice, and in that way, we can discuss it openly and not in closed session, and that would, so can we kick that to staff to look at that possibility and go forward with that?
This was something that the city attorney had been looking into. She was going to attend this evening's meeting, but wasn't able to. She gave me a brief summary as far as her thoughts were and what she was able to come up with. As far as looking into it, she didn't feel that the proposal could work. That our obligation extends only to defend or appeal the applications into trust. So that is our role with respect to Oneida filing the fee to trust applications. We don't have any authority or any other obligations beyond that as far as promulgating notice with respect to what properties are being applied for moving into trust. The jurisdiction for these residents isn't changing. They're still within the jurisdiction of the city. The parcel, once moved into trust, is still in city jurisdiction. The change is that we just simply cannot enforce our zoning and our inspections codes on those parcels because at that point it's trust property and sovereign.
Well, so then, in many ways, it's not in our jurisdiction. I mean, we can't enforce zoning, which is a big thing, and also we're not collecting taxes.
We still have to provide, I believe it's.
Right, we provide services.
We still have to provide, services, and police still have jurisdiction. it's just a matter of our inspections code and our buildings code that we can't enforce against them without their cooperation.
I would think that residents would want to be aware of that
Right.
change, because it could affect them and their property and the ability to do things with it.
This is the same, one of the reasons they're maybe not doing it is, it's kind of a two-edged sword, you know, I mean, the neighbors, I feel, should have the right to know if something may go into trust or not. But, you know, maybe there's something with the tribes stating that, you know, that's our right, we can go ahead and do it.
Right.
Which, okay, so with that being said, it's like, okay, where's that fine line? Where can we agree? And I realize that negotiations and things will be coming into play. But I agree with Alder Burnett. I really feel that citizens should at least be notified. You know, if the tribe thinks that, well, maybe there's going to be a backlash because of that, I don't know.
If
Right.
we're going to, if I own a piece of property and I want to tear down the existing home on it or do anything else with it, that has to come before city council. And that's noticed in the notifications,
It
right?
depends on and I'm not familiar with inspections or housing code, or planning permits and things
Sure.
of that nature, but it all kind of depends on the nature of the project. You would have to pull plan permits or building permits, construction permits, electrical permits, depending on
Right.
what it is that you're doing to your property. And I think certain changes have to come before council, but not necessarily the pulling of the
Right.
permits themselves.
Are those listed in the paper with the Press Gazette
Um,
publication?
I don't believe those are published. I believe rezoning issues, yes, those get public
Okay.
hearings
Or
and
if you're
things like
asking
that.
for a variance or something like
Right,
that?
right, yes, yes.
But
But
if
just
a-
pulling permits to do construction on your home or your business, I don't believe those get noticed. And while the citizens may not, the actions that are being filed, while they may not be published in a newspaper, it is public record, it's a
Right.
court filing. The citizens would be able to go and find this information for themselves. So I guess the recommendation from the city attorney is that while they may be entitled to notice, the city may not be the most appropriate party to be providing the notice to these residents.
If I could.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, given a lot of thought to this, in fact, for the last year, the issue is, first of all, I'm not an attorney. So the idea of jurisdiction, I use that term perhaps for lack of a better term. I'm not an attorney, so I don't know. But what I meant by jurisdiction is this. Say, for example, if a property is held in trust, the city has no enforcement on municipal violations
Mhm.
on that property.
Mhm.
So for example, say if that person, that property owner, in this case the tribe held in trust for the benefit of the tribe, the purpose of the tribe, say if they wanted to turn a single family home into a multifamily home,
Mhm.
that would fall completely under the jurisdiction, pardon the you know,
Yes.
parsing of the word, but that
Mhm.
would fall completely under the jurisdiction, if you will, of the tribal government.
Mhm.
So that homeowner who lives next door, who's paying property taxes, would have no forum
Mhm.
to oppose such transfer, or to oppose such a development, other than some agreement that the city and the tribe have worked on, like an ease of communication. So the purpose of the agenda item that I put forward is, as we move forward, I don't think it's reasonable or long-term sustainable plan for the city to oppose every land transfer. But I'm telling you right now, the people in my district are clueless, and I mean that not because of their own ignorance, they're clueless because this has not been part of public discussion for quite some time. April 2016, the city terminated the service agreement. I was not on the council, I think just the two of you were at that time. So since then, 3 years have passed, and me being an alderman, I get the calls, I've heard it during election time, and I get those calls quite a bit. So when a property is, when a neighbor has a concern with the property that's held in trust, for example, say if that property, I'm just throwing it out there, has 3 or 4 dogs, and they didn't get the proper approval of the city government, can the city, or myself as an alderman, can I do anything about that other than knock on the door or ask for cooperation from the Oneida government?
Mhm. I'm not sure, I know that there are restrictions as far as what ordinances we can enforce against parcels that are in trust. I'm not entirely sure if there is an exception for, ordinances that affect, public safety, like, dangerous dog decorations or things of that nature, so I don't want to speak. Right.
Fair enough. So since April 2006, a lot of that was in the service
Mhm.
agreement that the
Mhm.
city had in place. It was terminated, well, actually, it wasn't terminated immediately. The city, I asked the tribe to renegotiate it at the 3-year anniversary date. That was April
Right.
2015, or 2015, and then for a year, the negotiations stalled. So now we are at the point of April 2016. There hasn't been a whole lot of cooperation since then, as far as I'm concerned. So here I am as an alder who very much values community input and keeping things transparent and out in the open and informing the public on issues that involve them, and really without being at the table of negotiations between the Oneida Nation and our city executive, I have no ability to tell my constituents, hey, this will be discussed at this committee. And I am not looking, you know me by now, I am not the type to rally a posse or try to divide or, create division in neighborhood. That is a terrible thing to do, and I certainly would not do that. But when I hear the phone calls, and I get the calls and I go to properties, people simply do not know. So we need to, the motion was in goodwill, reach out to Oneida. And I understand, the city attorney, that's a big responsibility to take on, notifying property owners, and that's why I said in coordination, in goodwill with the Oneida government. So the Oneida and the city government put together a letter saying this property has been applied to be placed in trust. If approved, it will be discussed at this council meeting. If approved, then this is who you call within the tribal government for this issue or that issue. I don't believe this argument that it's too much, that too burdensome. That is the whole point of government, is to serve the people. And right now, whether it be the Oneida or the city or partnership of both, we are failing the people who live in my district. And for the longest time, I've kind of remained silent because I'm trying to figure out the best way to navigate this. Now with the election of the new mayor, I have a lot of optimism that we will come to the table. But until then, we need to notify people. It's just, and again, send out a letter to these 12 properties, neighbors adjacent to these 12 properties that were discussed at the finance committee, and maybe 5 people show up, and then that gives me the notice then that people in my district really aren't that concerned about it, that I'm fine going ahead and approving these. And so what I'm looking for is cooperation, good governance, partnership. Is what I've looked for from the beginning. Have I said or done things that I regret through this course? Maybe minor, but it's because I've really been working towards this goal. So,
I've got a quick comment. I think the staff could notify the alters in their districts which properties are going into trust. In my district, some of my district is in that area, and I don't know what properties are going into trust, so it would be nice if the staff would notify the alters, and then we'd have the information on hand, and we could talk to some of the neighbors if if there's any questions, we could talk to them and say, well, this property's going into trust, and we'll know the addresses, which ones are going into trust, and at least we'll have the information. Right now, I don't have any information which going into trust.
thank you, Alderman Vanderleest. Now, Chair, the thing I've thought about, really 3 solutions to the situation, the problem. And the first solution, and it's not a solution, but the first option is to do nothing. I mean, to literally have the city say, we are not going to notify anything. We're going to continue to put these items on agendas without indicating the address. And you have to really dig into the agenda to understand that this is going to even be discussed. So the first option is to do nothing. That is not an option for me, because what will happen, 6 months or a year from now is if the property goes to trust and a neighbor has a concern about the property, again, not meaning to stigmatize the property. That's not a given that we're going to have problems. 90% of the problems, issues, 90% of the trust properties we probably have no issues with whatsoever. So my constituent will come to me and say, I had no idea that now the city has no ability to challenge or do anything with this, and that puts me in a very bad position, because it was kind of a dereliction of duty. I did not inform people of this situation, and I can't, that in my conscience, I can't tolerate that. The second option would be for, as Alderman Vanderlee suggested, that each alder get notified. The problem with that is, and it's a very sensitive situation, it's a very sensitive issue, we will be accused of possibly inciting a posse mentality of we must oppose these. That is not a position I want to be in, or I want you to be in. I don't want to lead the public in what they should think. I simply want them an avenue to express their opinion. That is not a good option for me. I live in that district, that neighborhood. I don't want to create division within neighborhoods. So that's what I'm saying, from the city and the tribe, together, we must come up with a letter so that it creates a front, and then it gives me, the constituents, my name and Alderman Vanderlee's name, or any other city official or tribal officials that have that property. And then that in fact is the third option, that the city does that. And I think that's the most tenable situation. Anything else just simply won't work. I can't not notify people, and I cannot make that contact because of the sensitivity of the issue. So to answer your question, really the only option is for the city staff and the Oneida Nation to come together and draft a letter for our consideration. And I think it's reasonable, quite honestly. We got to move forward to a shared service agreement, but we have to notify the public first. That's critical. We're in the United States of America. The consent of the governed, the notice of the government, they have to know what we are discussing, and enough of the closed session discussions. We got to get this stuff out in the open as much as possible.
So if we made a motion to refer this to staff, that going forward with the Oneidas and working out, I don't know if we're really working on a service agreement or what's the language we're using. We're not using a service agreement anymore, are we? Or
Not right now.
Intergovernmental agreement, yes.
Intergovernment agreement, that they take this into consideration to work out this as part of the process. But that,
Yeah, that's true, but we have an issue coming up before the council that was discussed by the finance committee. So I'd be looking for a little more timeliness, like almost to the point that the staff could report back a draft letter of what that letter would look like. I know,
but if we want the Oneidas to be part of it, that's going to take some time
So
to
we know there's a meeting coming up. Why can't that be broached at that meeting?
meeting, sure.
When is that date? for that?
That's, I don't know what the date is. We know it's coming. So I would make a proposal
At the next meeting.
that at the next meeting, that staff and the mayor are gonna have with the representatives from the Oneida tribe, that this item be one of the items that they bring forward.
Isn't there a problem though with that? Only in the sense that, Jesse, you were talking about the timeliness of this, that there may have been some things discussed at finance that have pushed this forward more quickly.
and
So
again,
would that work to wait
for
until
me,
another meeting?
I think that public input should be before the action takes place. And so whatever the finance committee decided, again, I was notified of the meeting the day before, not proper notification, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if it was purposeful or not, but it was not proper notification. So all those properties that were discussed in finance now, those people who live, it's just, we have to notify people ahead of time. And again, 2 people show up, 3 people, then that's proof I have that that's okay.
Well, is there anything legally binding preventing
The city.
the city to notify those people? Just because it was discussed in closed session, is there
Because
anything?
it does involve litigation that, essentially, we are defendants in that action. So the reason that those discussions happen in closed session is because there can be conversations and discussions that could potentially be affecting our litigation position and our negotiation position and our legal strategies, and conferring with counsel. And so that's why those discussions are in closed session.
If we're not contesting those properties,
But
Is that
that
a-
decision to contest or not contest, that happens in closed, so we don't know whether council or the
right,
committee
so
will want to or
if
not.
the city's saying closed session, the city made a decision not to contest,
Mhm.
does that apply then to notifying those residents around those properties that they're not being contested?
Once council approves and we've then determined that we're not going to be contesting, I don't think so. Again, I'm not super well versed in this particular area. This was something that the city attorney was looking into and working on. I don't believe there would be, because at that point, our position has been made and our decision has been made, but there could be also a lag until the proceedings have been finalized, or whether we've made a filing or a response in the appeal. We still may not be able to disclose what our decision is until that particular point in time.
So your opinion is we're legally bound not to say anything right now?
It's in the city's favor to not be discussing what our decisions are with respect to pending litigation until that litigation
And we're in
is
the middle of
resolved. I guess
litigation.
that's the best way of phrasing it.
With those properties, we're in the middle of litigation with those properties.
Can we have answers to that by the next council meeting?
Yes, well, Vanessa should be there, and she will
And
probably
when
be
is
able
that
to.
next council meeting?
21st.
21st.
21st, yes. So next Tuesday, yes.
I'd like to make a suggestion that, as far as what the Finance Committee discussed at their meeting, I think that the City Council should address this whole issue before they move forward with the Finance Committee's recommendation. I think the City Council should just discuss it. If it's in closed session or open session, doesn't matter to me. But I think that it should be discussed, and then it can be aired out as far as how we want to move forward.
Right, because the Finance Committee's decision will be discussed at the next council meeting.
Yeah.
This could also be a item for that same agenda. And I don't know if they're two separate closed session items, or if it becomes
This
part and
doesn't have-
parcel of the one.
Right, this doesn't have closed session.
Okay.
But I'm assuming, I wasn't at the finance meeting last week. I'm not sure when, last week.
Yeah, on the
Yeah.
Wednesday.
We could certainly take this up in closed session, though, when we report it out to council. When this gets reported out to
When
council.
the finance item, I'm assuming, was
Right.
probably in closed session. So
Right.
if that item gets pulled, then closed session language,
Right.
I'm assuming it'll go with closed session
And
language. So
we-
then that will be able to be discussed in closed session.
But when we report this item to
Mhm.
council, we could add closed session language to it, could we not?
Not necessarily, I'm not seeing a basis for closed session for this particular item,
Okay.
unless, because it doesn't necessarily
Well, we could talk
refer
about
to
it.
specific
Open session.
properties that are in litigation.
Sure.
It's kind of a general overarching approach, so.
Could staff have the answers to the questions that we're bringing up here for the city council meeting?
Mhm.
And then chicken and egg, can you give us advice on which should come first during that city council meeting so it's in the proper order?
Mhm.
I think we'd want to go to a closed session first to find out about those properties, because if we don't litigate, then there's no, if we decide not to litigate, then there's no issue of confidentiality that we're going to break or hurt ourselves in litigation,
Right.
because we're not litigating. So I think we'd want to do the closed session first, and then speak about what happened in closed session as much as we can. And if we're not litigating, we could certainly let the cat out of the bag then.
Sure. Now, the committee, could they ask the city, your department,
Mhm.
to draft a letter and send it to the properties, within 200 feet of the trust parcels, the
The committee,
applicant parcels?
right, the committee can direct our.
You can direct them
He's
with a
gonna be
letter
answering.
stating that this agenda item could appear, the agenda item will appear on the next council meeting, and you may be allowed you will be allowed to provide public input. That's really what I'm looking for, because
Right.
hear me out, if the council decides what they decided to finance, or whatever the end result is, and properties do decide to go into trust, then it's done. It's a done deal. There's nothing I can do at that point, and everyone's opinion will not be heard by this body. And I cannot go door to door and share things that were discussed in closed session. So we have basically handcuffed me, and in the end, it's going to be bad for me either way, except unless we kind of slow down a little bit. And if I could impose upon the committee to do just that, let's slow down a little bit, and let's think about this, we need to inform the public. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not here, I'm not sliding them one way or the other. I just simply want to hear from them. I cannot share what I know because of the discussions and the pending litigation.
Council can direct us to do that, and we can certainly look into whether that's something that we can do or not. However, it won't, I'm understanding the timing concerns, that this committee's report won't go to council until next Tuesday. And once council approves this committee's recommendation, then at that point, staff would be able to move forward. But if we're looking to have a letter, but
That's fair.
Can we move?
Well, it's about all we can do. I mean, time-wise, I don't know how we can,
Will it work?
yeah. And unfortunately, going that path, we don't include the Oneidas now, but I'm hoping eventually we can get to the point where you said where it's a joint letter, working together. They did back, I don't think I'm letting anything out by saying the negotiations before with the service agreement, they did say they would, as part of that agreement, whenever they were going to develop land, they would notify us and they would take our input on it. So it's kind of the same kind of thing almost. So they seem, at least at one time, they were willing to do that, so.
I'd like to make a
Hurry up, get back.
statement.
Can we,
Yep.
can we recommend right now? Because I have to go to another meeting. Unless you want to.
I think we've made our motion that staff, the motion is that staff investigate the legal angles on notifying residents within a certain parameter of the affected properties, and that we have at least a rough draft letter to look at by city council, and with staff's recommendations on how to proceed legally, so we're not tying our hands or violating any issues as far as our rights go to contest or not contest those properties.
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Alder Galvin, seconded by Alder Steuer. Would you like to make a quick statement?
Yeah, I say that we should discuss this, your proposal, Mr. Burnett's proposal, before we approve the Finance Committee's recommendation. In other words, we should discuss that first and have the council get an overall draft of what's being presented. And then we go to the next step to the Finance Committee, in other words, the proposal that they have endorsed right now, Finance Committee, and then we make an approval. In other words, we can talk about it openly before we actually vote on the,
If it's in litigation, we can't. If we decide in closed session to litigate, we cannot talk about it in open session, which is why we should do that first. Because if we decide to litigate, it closes the discussion. We can't discuss it in open session.
okay.
So, but if we don't decide to litigate, then we can.
Well, I think that we should still give Mr. Burnett a chance on the city council floor to.
Oh, yeah, we'll be talking about this.
So that it's in the minutes that he'll get a chance to discuss it.
right,
and-
depending on how the agenda gets sussed out, if the report of protection and policy precedes the report of the Finance Committee, a motion can be made to amend the agenda to move the finance. So if the goal is to discuss the report of the Finance Committee prior to discussing this committee's report, a motion can be made to amend the agenda to move it
Yeah.
up.
And we could just pull this one item.
Okay,
Yeah.
that'd be fine then.
Just one comment, if I could, and
Sure,
I'll let
yep,
you
yep,
vote.
yep.
I've been around government for a while, sometimes, and not to, discredit staff, but sometimes when we ask staff to do something, sometimes the reply in the past, not just city government, but my experience in county government, they can't get what we ask them to do due to timing. So what I'm asking, we talk to the city attorney tomorrow and assure me
Yep.
that we will have a
I will
actual
I will
draft.
speak with her first thing in the morning.
I greatly appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, that satisfies, we're doing,
Well, I'm not satisfied completely, but.
But, yeah, given the tightness.
We need to notify the public, that's all. So whatever we decide moving forward, we have to allow people the right to know what's going on. It's only right.
Yep. Okay,
All right.
thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. and Alder Sawyer needed to step up.
Okay, back to.
The rest of the agenda?
item 1, yes.
Consideration with possible action on General Ordinance 14-19, an ordinance creating section 40.14 relating to community service as a penalty. Staff, I think this is just,
Yep, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
It just creates an overarching ordinance or provision in the ordinance wherein community service can be issued in conjunction with or as an alternative to, as a penalty that can be imposed by municipal court
Yep.
for municipal violations.
Didn't they already have that?
they did,
They did, I don't know if it was codified necessarily.
it wasn't codified, so I mean, this is just,
This just makes it official?
yeah,
And
If they
instead
don't-
of adding it to
And
every single municipal section or ordinance, it kind of just provides a catch-all.
And who's gonna monitor that community service?
That I don't know, I believe that would be Muni Court, if Muni Court's imposing
And if
it.
they don't do their community service, we swear out a warrant for their arrest, pick them up, bring them back in?
Yeah, I believe it operates the same way as if you don't pay your fine,
Okay.
then there would be a warrant,
All
correct?
right.
So that's all monitored by municipal court.
I don't think we're really changing anything so much as
Mhm.
codifying and putting this in our code lets the public know
Sure.
this is a possible, it's just, I think, makes us more transparent.
Sure.
Gives more
Motion
information.
to approve.
So, motion approved by Alder Galvin, seconded by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Good to go?
Consideration as possible action on change of agent for Bay Motel and Family Restaurant, Inc. at 1301 South Military Avenue with an effective date 7/1/2019. Staff.
Law department has no objections.
Please concur.
Motion approved?
Motion approved by Alder Gavin, second by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously.
Okay.
Consideration with possible action on a renewal application for the 2019-2020 license year for Bay Motel and Family Restaurant, Inc. at 1301 South Military Avenue, pending the approval of the change of agent at the May 21st Common Council meeting. Staff.
Law department has no objections.
Please concur.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Alder Vanderleest, second by Alder Galvin. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously.
Good to go?
Yep. Consideration with possible action on a change of agent for the Daily Buzz LLC at 130 East Walnut. Staff.
Law department has no objections.
Please concur.
Motion approved?
Motion approved by Alder Galvin, seconded by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously.
Good to go?
Consideration with possible action on a renewal application for the 2019-2020 license year for the Daily Buzz LLC at 130 East Walnut Street, pending the approval of the change of agent at the May 21st Common Council meeting. Staff.
Law department has no objections.
Please concur.
Motion approved by Alder Vanderleest, seconded by Alder Galvin. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously.
Yep, good to go?
Consideration with possible action on an application for a 6-month Class B beer license for the Pure Dodgers Baseball Club, Inc. at 1450 East Walnut Street with a licensed premises description as Joanne's Stadium inside the fence. Want to knock them outside the fence? Staff.
Law department has no objections.
Please concur.
Motion approved?
Motion approved by Alder Galvin, seconded by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, we're all set?
7, consideration of possible action on an application starting in the 2019-2020 license year for a Class B beer and Class B reserve liquor license for Old Bavarian Brewing Company LLC at 1583 Main Street with a licensed premise description as existing bar and serving areas. Is there anyone here for this?
Yes.
Okay, well, staff first.
Sure, we have no objections. The agent did have one, just for, in the interest of full disclosure, the agent did have one conviction for allowing underage persons to loiter in Appleton in 2015. It wasn't disclosed on the application, but we didn't feel that it was enough to warrant not recommending. And that was all. We'll all have it.
Please concur.
Okay, I'll take a motion to open the floor.
Motion open the floor?
Motion on the floor of Al Galvin, second by Alder Vanderleest, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, if you could please come up, please state your name and address the chair, and if the pad's still there, if you could fill that out and hand that to our legal department before you go. I got an email expressing concern about brewing. Do you brew beer?
No, we contract brew.
You contract brew.
Correct.
Then I think that clears that up.
Mhm.
So you're just operating a bar? This is not a brewery?
Correct. Correct.
And which building is this on? I
Uh,
know it's near McDonald's.
1583 Main Street. There's BB's.
Ah.
Oh, BB's,
Also a
yeah.
tenant in
Yep,
that,
yep.
in that building.
Mhm.
BB's.
Correct.
All right.
Is there anything else you care to add? That's all I needed to know.
No, I mean, we like to bring our business up to Green Bay. We've been in business for 20 years in Appleton now and just try to expand.
Okay, cool, great, all right.
Yeah, I'm looking at the stipulation agreement. You didn't want to sign the license or any employee of a licensed establishment is prohibited from being under the influence of an intoxicant or controlled substance or a combination of intoxicant or controlled substance while performing services or job duties on licensed premises. You didn't want to sign that?
When I met with the police department last week,
Mhm.
I signed that letter.
It's not initialed here, it was crossed out.
The police officer crossed that out himself. He said that's no longer valid, so that's why. I met with Dave Vanderum.
Yeah, Officer Van Arum did the business plan,
Mm-hmm.
and since that's been being crossed out on some sense, establishments are allowing their servers to drink and.
I mean, we don't anyway,
Well-
but he crossed it out. He said he can't legally ask me to. I said, to me, it doesn't
All
matter.
right, well, I guess I would ask staff, does that hold water? It's a surprise to me.
It's up to the discretion of the police department if they wanted to keep that in the stipulation agreement. I don't believe there've been any, since my absence, I don't believe there've been any changes in the sober server ordinance. I know that did come in front of the
Well,
committee.
I understand we have no sober server ordinance,
And that's coming back.
but
It could be in the
it was
stipulation.
something
be
that
in
we
the
had
staff
going, in,
section.
and this is, I would strongly urge the police department to have a discussion with their community police officers and make sure they're all on the same page as the stipulation agreement goes. We spent a lot of time putting this together, and it seems like it's just parts of it are being kicked to the curb. And if it's because they're misinformed about ordinances, statutes, and whatever, or liability, I think we should all get on the same page as a community, so. And if you could let me know what you find out, I'd appreciate it. But I think going forward, if a company is willing to sign it, by all means, let's have them sign it. I mean, again, we've all agreed that
Perfect, thank you.
there's a issue with the drinking culture in the state, much less in this community. And the more we can do to get that under control and not have the problems that we've had to deal with in the past, I think everyone benefits, including the police department.
I agree. I'll discuss it with the community police and get the opinion of Rich Mays, the city attorney that prosecutes this.
All right.
And if I need to initial it after the fact, I'm
Well,
totally fine with
and
that.
I'm reassured that that's a policy, that's a great policy to have for.
And I
for
agree.
an
I mean, it's
establishment.
business.
Yeah, well, it's good business not to have intoxicated people working for you. Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
it's a double-edged sword. I mean, I agree with it. We don't allow it, but I know why bars do it.
Sure.
You know,
All right, thank you
especially
so
smaller
much.
bars.
Question, or-
I was just going to mention to the
Well,
staff.
save that to the close,
Okay.
the floor, unless it's a question.
Other than that, I have no more questions, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep, motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor?
By Alder Galvin, seconded by Alder Vanderleest, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, Alder Vanderleest.
I think this discussion was brought up probably about 4 or 5 months back. And I think the Tavern League, they had some input on it, and also the police department did that. It wasn't, in other words, there weren't a lot of violations as far as intoxicated servers. You know, some of the bar owners came up and they spoke that, you know, they felt that, you know, they were managing their people at a pretty good pace as far as, you know, it wasn't an issue, a real big issue as far as, you know, drunk servers. I don't think there was any violations written that, you know, you had a drunk server at this bar or that bar, that, you know, the establishments were policing their own operation more so. And I think that's why maybe it wasn't really, you know, pushed that heavily on that.
Well,
on that
you
issue.
can't cite what you don't have an ordinance for.
Well, I think they were trying to, you know, put it into ordinance form, and
But
it didn't, I don't think it went forward as far as, because I think the people that are, you know, Tavern League, for number one, and a lot of the bar owners didn't feel that, you know, some of the establishment felt that if they wanted to have one or two drinks when they were working, that it was okay. And some people were against any kind of drinking, but I guess it kind of comes with the territory.
But we're getting off our agenda item now.
Okay.
That item will be coming back, we can just
Okay.
have a full discussion then. Our agenda item is
I'll make a motion to approve.
to approve this license. So motion to approve by Alder Galvin,
Second.
second by Alder Vanderleest, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, okay. On everything we do here, got that in the beginning, is just a recommendation to the council. Council has the final say next Tuesday.
Thank you very much.
Yep. You gotta go?
I do gotta go, but that puts us in a,
I will get
No
him,
quorum.
right.
yep.
Thanks for
This
coming in.
other store upstairs,
Appreciate it.
you know?
I'll take a motion to recess for a
Well,
few,
if you want, I
in
can,
recess.
you know, we can get this next one done.
8.
Eight,
All right,
yeah.
consideration of possible action on the renewal applications for various liquor and/or beer licenses for 2019-2020 license year. Staff,
Law department has no objections.
Please concur.
Motion approved.
motion approved by Alder Whitney, second by Alder Galvin, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Then there's the rest of these, we should probably recess until,
Yeah, I think so too.
yeah.
All right.
So I
I'm
will,
sorry.
no, thank you appreciate the help you got. We got a lot done while you were still here. So I will take a motion to recess,
10-minute.
10 minutes for,
Motion to recess.
Second.
okay, motion by Alder Galvin to recess for 10 minutes, second by Alder Vanderleest, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Sorry, folks, we don't have a quorum until Alder Story comes back from planning. I'm gonna get him back here ASAP.
Sorry about
Recording, okay.
We're good. Okay, I'll take a motion to go back in session. Or do we need a motion?
Yep, go back into, mhm.
Yep.
Motion to
Yes.
go back and.
Motion by Alder Vanderleest, seconded by Alder Johnson. Got so many names now, I'm gonna be spinning. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we are now back in session. We're on to item 10.
Yes, just scrolling through, item 10.
Okay, a request by Alder Scannell for consideration of possible action for legal to work with inspection to either amend or write an ordinance protecting property owners from their neighbors' runoff. I've gotten a couple of different calls on this. Apparently, there's a long history here. We used to have some more laws that were more effective in that way, and then they were changed. And so I'm looking for inspection staff to see what can be done with this. I'd just like to refer this to staff.
Okay, sounds good.
Motion to refer.
Second.
Motion by Alder Johnson to refer, seconded by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously.
Okay.
Item 11, consideration with possible action on a request by Alderberry to review action on changes to the ethics code policy and ordinances as recommended by outside counsel staff.
Yes, I believe the city attorney did update Alderman Weary on this item, that ACA Johnson, Kristen Johnson, was working on this up until her departure a couple weeks ago. So work has paused on it temporarily due to staffing issues, but we hope to resume work quickly on this in the next couple weeks. We have a new attorney starting May 29th.
Oh,
To
yay!
replace ACA Johnson, so she will be able to move forward with this, and hopefully we can have an update for the committee thereafter.
Sounds very ethical.
Very much so.
Does anyone have any other questions or any concerns about this?
Has Alder Weary indicated which items within the code that he'd like to see revised?
I believe he wanted to have changes implemented that the outside counsel had recommended. This was sent, so the ethics code per his request that was approved by council, the ethics code was sent to outside counsel who reviewed, made recommendations, and gave a report back to the city.
This is when it was first passed?
No.
No,
This
just
was
recently, in the past couple months, I believe.
Okay.
Well, longer than that, but
My timing,
Whatever,
all
yeah.
out of whack.
Yeah.
So our department has been working, specifically ACA Johnson was working on reviewing those recommendations, because it was fairly detail oriented, and then implementing those changes into amendments and recommendations to then bring back to committee and council.
We want to make a motion just to.
Receive and place on file.
We could have, in other words, we could hold it and then let staff, bring it up to date.
Sure.
Yes,
We
that
can
would-
hold the item until
hold the
the
item until-
recommendations
Well, you're right, hold
are
would be
ready.
better. I think you're right. I think so. Yes, you're right. Hold by, motion to hold by Alder Vanderleest. Second by Alder Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously.
That was a motion to hold.
Till staff can report.
Until staff can report back. Alrighty.
Item 12, consideration, well, actually 13. Consideration with possible action by Alder Weary, which states to request a report of police call volume on Western Avenue from Oneida to Taylor. What addresses are habitual problems? Have nuisance plans and bills or service been issued? Develop a plan moving forward to reduce the number of police calls to this area. Staff.
I will defer this one to Lieutenant Mahoney.
We received a request very similar from a neighbor that lives in that area. I reached out to Alder Weary and explained that to him. Our crime analyst is working on that data. She just had to get some other help, so she wasn't able to compile that data for this meeting. So we're just asking that just be held, and for the next meeting, we'll have that information.
Motion to hold
Motion to hold.
by Alder Vanderleest.
Second.
Second by Alder Johnson. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That passes unanimously.
I'm sorry, I missed that
Motion to hold by Alder Vanderleest.
Vanderleest
Second by Alder Johnson.
Johnson to hold until the next meeting?
Yep.
Okay. My skills of multitasking have not returned yet.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. When you're ready,
Yes.
there's no pressure.
Item 13, yep.
Okay, we're just all staring at you.
No pressure, though.
Yeah. Item 13, a request by Alder Johnson for consideration of possible action on the creation of a safe park initiative that permits overnight parking for those who may have consumed too much alcohol in an effort to deter drunk driving incidents. Examples, Seattle, Colorado. Staff? Well, let's go to Alder Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the appropriate action at this time is just to refer to staff to craft a policy that we can actually bring back here, discuss, debate. Been working with Don Medley from the Brown County Tavern League and specifically trying to address certain situations where we have overnight parking and we create citations, and trying to see if there's a way that we can create an environment that encourages people not to get behind the wheel because they fear getting a citation or a ticket. There are other cities that successfully do this. An additional one that had been shared with me is Austin, Texas. So I think when we're researching this, that could be another model to look to with creating a policy that works. And I think also Director Grenier had indicated that he might have some feedback on a policy of this sort.
Mhm.
So.
My recommendation at this point would be for basically to just refer to staff to to DPW and to parking, as they would be kind of spearheading whatever policy would be at play.
We could park it with them
Yes, we can park it.
to get that.
We did.
Alder Vanderleest?
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that, during the Packer games, that this issue's come up before about, people leaving their cars where there's such a narrow corridor on some of those streets, and, people, they say they were drunk, they weren't drunk, they left their cars, so that has to be addressed into the issue as well. I think our traffic manager, Mr. Hanson, he had some input on that, so I think we should, definitely discuss it with Mr. Hanson as well, and see where it all kind of fits in, because, they were basically, if they approve it, that some of those streets won't move out at all, when they have the Packer game, and I'm sure Lieutenant Mahoney knows what's going on that end.
Yeah, that's one of our, we're for it, especially, I work night shift, and yes, last thing in the world we want are people debating on whether, do I get a $30 parking ticket or is it worth me driving? One of the concerns we would also have is, now with the Saturday Farmers Market along Washington Street, I know in the past, the farmers market people right at 2:30 were trying to get us to get the cars out. So it's something I think the city needs. It's just, there's gonna have to be some research and tweaking to it to accommodate Packers, some of the downtown events, that the streets are closed off.
Yeah. I know this has come up before, and we looked at it, and there were some solutions offered as to, there are spots where people can park, but I think we need to get more organized with this, more promotion of this, more marketing of this, and more organized with it. And I know staff is working on a comprehensive parking plan for the city, so this certainly should be a part of that. So,
One other part of it also was the fire department, they said that, for instance, where they have those party houses behind in other words, off of Lombardi Avenue, they said they couldn't even get a fire truck down there, to get through if there were so many cars. So that's some kind of an issue. In other words, they don't want nobody parking on there during that time frame. I think, on that, I think it's, I don't know if it's Thrush Street or the name of that. It's right next, in other words, the party houses, next one over from Lombardi, they couldn't even get a fire truck down they had rescue squad, couldn't even get through. So that was a problem there. So they want to discuss that with the fire department as well.
yep.
And I think those are all concerns that can be addressed in crafting a policy. I think when it comes to referring to improvement services, the one concern that I would have is referring it directly to staff and that it doesn't find its way back onto an agenda. So I want to make sure that if we do refer over to that department and it leaves this committee.
Law department wouldn't, because it does involve parking policies and their procedures. It's not something that law department can craft and then
Right.
impose on DPW and parking. I was hoping that somebody from DPW and parking would be here tonight to discuss, so it could be referred directly to them.
Okay, and I'm okay with referring to them. I just want to make sure it ends up on an agenda again.
Right. So Jamie in the clerk's office will follow up and make sure that it will come back once it's ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
If we don't hear back within a little bit, we can put in a communication where we are on this parking.
to get an update,
Yep.
correct, but
Okay. So I'll move to refer to staff. I guess
Yep.
we have to specifically designate which staff.
no.
Refer to staff.
You guys will figure out which staff, okay?
Yes.
Refer to staff, Earl Johnson, seconded by Alder
Second.
Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously.
Okay. And we are good to go.
14 or 15, consideration with possible action to grant final approval authority to Protection and Policy Committee for liquor license applications, liquor license amendments, and operator's license from May 21st, 2019 through October 1st, 2019. I believe this is on our agenda so that during the summer months, we meet fewer times, and this way, people who are looking for a license aren't left hanging for a month or two, because we only meet once a month, both committee and council, correct?
Yep, that is exactly it.
And so I would recommend that we have that authority to the council. Take a motion to approve. Unless there's other motion approved by Alder Vanderleest. Discussion?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this with INS and some other committees as well, where we start removing the legislative body from its responsibility of legislating. And by saying, you know what, we don't meet enough in the summer months, let's just give it to this organization, or we'll give it to staff to make that decision. We'll give it, now in this case, we'll give it to the subcommittee to make the decision. I mean, if we have a policy in place that's designed for appropriate legislative oversight throughout the balance of the year, it just seems kind of odd to me that we would constantly change the rules to change that authority just because we don't meet enough.
Well,
So
if I may, we, in the past, there have been specific cases that have come up where, due to time constraints, it's usually a time constraint issue, where this committee has been given the authority. It was specific issues, specific circumstances, so this is just a little more of a blanket policy to deal with the time constraints of our new, considering our summer schedule. So, I mean, I would certainly don't think we should have the final say forever, but, and I don't know,
I mean, what time constraints are we typically facing here?
It's mostly just so that applicants aren't facing a delay where they could only have their application be heard once a month for final approval from council. So for bartenders, if they're applying for a job and they need to have their bartender's license to get that job, they would be able to turn that around in 2 weeks' time when council is meeting in a regular fashion. But when we go into the summer schedule, only meeting once a month, it could pose a problem for operators' licenses and for bars and restaurants that are looking to open up and businesses that are looking to open up, whatever their timelines are. It just makes it a little bit easier, but it's entirely up to your discretion whether you want to do that or not.
I mean, I'm going to imagine the full council's going to debate this issue, but again, I guess I just have maybe take issue when we constantly delegate the council's responsibility to smaller bodies making that decision for us, so.
it's a good point. I'll, for now though, I will second the motion. And for moving it on to council, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, so we should vote.
Yes, let's redo that.
That's 2-1 that it passes.
I will start the vote.
My vote's not coming up on the screen here.
Alder Vanderleest, you'd like to vote yes?
Yes. In other words, approve it. Generally, if there's any real questions about, we refer to the police department and to this, into the, to the law
Yeah.
department. And if there's a big issue, then we'll say no.
And I would reserve the right to,
Yeah.
I mean, change my vote at council. I think I want to learn a little bit more about this issue between now and then.
Yeah.
So that passed 2-1 with Alder Johnson voting nay.
Are we ready to move on?
Sure.
Yes.
Fine. Are you going to stay here?
I'm good. Matt's going to text me. You want to jump back up?
All right, well, just let me know.
Well, you certainly
jump
could.
back
There,
up.
we could still have 4 if you're back. I mean,
I'm back.
Come on up, Mark.
Sure.
You're the man.
I mean, we have a quorum,
You're a
but technically there is
council
4 to the committee
What else
usually.
is what?
Huh? Just informational,
We
it should
only
be
have
quick.
2 more
Oh,
items.
2 more
so
items.
it's-
Yeah.
they- they have
Oh,
4
yeah.
minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
All right.
just informational.
And it's informational.
Yes.
Liquor violation report from the police department for May 13th, 2019 staff.
We didn't have any violations. We issued one property referral to a business downtown based off of the disturbance.
Any questions?
All that they're doing a good job.
Yep. Take a motion to receive and place on file.
Motion to receive and place on file.
Alder Vanderleest, seconded by Alder Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is received and placed on file. Report of the Water Utility Department regarding the lead pipe removal project. We got a PDF on that. So I think we just receive and place on file. They're doing a good job. They're getting more and more of the lead. They got the lead out. They're getting the lead out.
They got all Sean Avenue done there. That was a big project over there. Huge. Practically every house, yeah, on the Russ and West High School, all did. Motion received and placed on file.
Motion to receive and place on file by Alder Vanderleest. Second by Alder Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously. I believe. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Alder Johnson, seconded by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're done.
Yeah, yeah.
Good job, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, you wanna, oh, you done? You already closed it?
Thank you, Brian.
Going in for-